So take this IP address here, 192.168.100.1. So we have the first octet, the second octet, the third, and the fourth. So the first, the second, the third, and the fourth. And I'd spoken about the bits. So each octet has 8 bits, and each IP address has 32 bits or 4 bytes. Each octet is 1 byte, and we have 4. So we have 4 bytes and 32 bits. So let's create our own cheat sheet that we use to solve our subnetting problems. So we're going from right to left. So we're going right to left. So we write left to right, but here we're going right to left. So you start with 1 and you double that as you go from right to left. So you have 1, you have 2, you have 4, you have 8, you have 16, you have 32, and you have 128. We'll stop at 128. So we're going from right to left. We have 1 all the way to 128, while doubling that. So 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, and 128. Our magic number here is 256. So we have the first row where we're going from 1 all the way to 128. Now on our second row, we have our magic number of 256. Now on the second row, below each number we have on the first row, so we take 256 minus 1, and we put the answer we have below 1 on our second row. So we have 256 minus 1, that gives us 255. So below 1, we put 255. And we do 256 minus 2, and we get 254. So we put that number below 2, and we do the same thing all the way to 128. All right, so we have our first row going from 1 to 128. And our second row, using our magic number 256, subtracting each number on the first row and putting the answer below the number. So we have below 1, we have 255. Below 2, we have 254. And all the way, we have below 128, we should have 128. Now on the third row, below each corresponding column, we'll begin from the right. We'll begin with a slash 32. So we know we have 32 bits. So we'll begin with a slash 32 and we'll go left. So from right to left, we'll begin with a slash 32 and we'll go all the way to the column of 128. A slash 32. Below 2, we have a slash 31, a slash 30, a slash 29, 28, 27, 26, and below 128, you should have a slash 25. And if you do that, once you get to a slash 25, you go back and you continue with a slash 24 from your right. So for the third row, below the column of 1, you begin with a slash 32.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So you begin with a slash 32 and you go left. So you go slash 32 and you're going down. Below 2, you have a slash 31. Below 4, you have a slash 30. Below 8, a slash 29, all the way to a slash 25 below 128.
Okay.
So the column where you have 128, you should have a slash 25.
Right. Okay. That's good.
Okay. And once you get to a slash 25, you go back to your right below 1 and you continue with a slash 24 and you go all the way down. So you go 24 and you follow the same procedure. You take it down until you get to the end and you come back. You should have a slash 16. You go all the way to your left and you come back. You should have a slash 8 and you go all the way to slash 1. On the first row, on the very first row where you had 1 all the way to 128, that corresponds to your group size. That corresponds to your group size. we have 128, that corresponds to your group size. The second row, where you have 255 all the way to 128. So the second row, that corresponds to your subnet mask. So your subnet mask. And the third row, or the third row, you have, that is your CIDR. So the third row is your CIDR. The first row is your group size. The second row is your subnet, and the third row is your CIDR. Looking at the third row, you should have 4 different rows under that particular section. So when you begin from a /32 all the way to a /1, you should have 4 different rows. The first row on that particular, so looking at that last section where we're focusing on the CIDR, the first row over there corresponds to different octets. And the very first row corresponds to your 4th octet. So from /32 all the way to /25, that corresponds to your 4th octet. Your /24 to your /17 corresponds to your 3rd octet. Your /16 to your /9 corresponds to your 2nd octet. /8 to your /1 corresponds to your 1st octet. If you were following along, I was saying you should have a sheet that looks exactly like this. So you have your group size from 1 to 128, your subnet mask from 255 to 128, and your CIDR from /32 for the 4th octet to 25, /24 to /17 for the 3rd, /16 to /9 for the 2nd, and /81 for the 1st.